So, being the crazy person I am, I was on the lookout for a certified pile brush or a similar machine, and the deal I had for one fell through when the seller checked on the item and told me that the brush on the underside had like a crush spot on it. I've been told once once they have a crush in them, you have to replace them. A new brush roll was $140. So I got to thinking about it and came across this machine for a decent deal, and while it's not the same as a certified pile brush, as it has no pickup capabilities, there is a host machine, actually two of them, the Freestyle and the Liberator, which both have dry pickup ability. So it is my goal to eventually add the pickup nozzle to this in order to use it as not only an agitation machine, but also as like a pile restoring type of unit. But I've kind of wondered, is it actually worthwhile? Because some of the people on truck mount forums don't seem to think that a certified pile brush or like a dry CRB treatment is really that useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to vacuum my bedroom with the Amway Clear Track, and then we're going to run this host machine over it, acting as a pile lifter, and then we're going to vacuum again to see if it really does dislodge significant amounts of dry soil. Now, obviously, this isn't a very large space. And yes, I know it's kind of underwhelming in here, but it's like I don't spend a lot of time in here except for sleeping, so it's like whatever. Kind of a functionality over form thing. Although I really should get a decent bed frame. So I should also note that despite my collection, I don't vacuum a ton. I probably should more than I do. But when you clean for a living, it's kind of the last thing you want to do when you get home. So, might be a little bit worse than it looks. Let's see, where's that power? Lots of cat hair. So I'm sure someone's going to ask, why did I choose to use the clear track for this? Simply put, the clear track is easy to empty, so I don't have to sit there and try to bang a bunch of stuff out of the cyclones. And I wanted to see what was left over, so a bagless machine was the best possible use for this. Yeah, this is mostly just cat hair, but I mean, we clearly have some sand on the bottom. Yep. Well, now let's get the host. And here's the underside of the host. It's just these two brushes, and they spin in towards each other. The Liberator and Freestyle have a pickup nozzle that runs in the center here, so it kind of sweeps stuff into the path of the nozzle. Now, this one doesn't have the cutout for the nozzle, so, there might be some modification. Well, there would be modification needed to do it. But, this is going to kind of help determine if it's even worthwhile to do it or not. And it's not quite as loud as it'll probably sound in the video. I noticed the first time I used it, I was expecting something a lot louder. It's shrill, but it's not noisy, if that makes sense. All right. So, part of the idea behind the pile lifter, or, something like that, is it's supposed to kind of open up the fibers, and that's supposed to help it get the dirt out. Now, I did give this just a real quick, kind of like clean before I started this. And, of course, with all these bristles, it is going to grab a lot of hair, which I think, the pickup nozzle would help with. But yeah, parts for these are kind of spendy. It's like, the pickup nozzle alone is like $80, and then, if I wanted to change the hood out to the proper style rather than modifying this one, another $80, and yeah. But my main purpose for this is going to be kind of use as a CRB, kind of rotating brush, for pre-treatment prior to shampooing, which I've been told these can do it, but they're not as good as like a standalone CRB, mainly because they don't have the weight. These are only like 35, 40 pounds. They were meant to be like rented or taken into people's homes or whatever, so portability was probably a pretty big thing with them. But yeah, now that we've run the brush, it's like, let's get the clear track back in here and do a re-clean. All right, post pile lifting clean. You can just hear the static in the air. Yeah. Hair. Some sand. Let's dump this out. Alright, so here's what I got from this in its initial run. As you can see, there's a lot of hair, and there's a little bit more of the fine debris kind of embedded in the hair. But I think we got the bulk of the grit out here. So, you know, I mean, obviously, like I said, I don't vacuum as much as I should. So there's a fair amount there. And here's what I got after the pile lifter. Now, I think I went a little bit faster for the post-pile lifter cleaning than I did for the initial cleaning. But I think that's pretty significant. I mean, I would just estimate, you know, I maybe got another 2/3 of what I got out of it. So, I mean, clearly, you know, anytime you go over a vacuumed area, again, you're always going to find more dirt. But I don't think I should be finding this much grit using the same machine. So I think it's safe to say that running a pile lifter or, you know, a CRB over it does loosen soil. And, you know, it's not something I'm going to do every day or every week. Every once in a while, for sure. And probably before, you know, a deep clean. So give it, you know, a pile lifter and then go through with the vacuum, pre-spray, then agitate with the pile lifter. It's going to be a little bit of a process, but it really should get me some good results. Who knows, maybe someday I'll actually find a certified pile brush or similar for a decent enough price. I've always been curious about those.